What most people do is they'll grab the axe as per their dominant hand, which is actually quite interesting because most people are very lopsided with coming across the body. It's kind of awkward on your wrist, particularly with a heavy axe, and it's awkward on your back. I hope you've noticed what I was doing differently. More axe skills in today's video, and I think that many of you are only really using half of your potential when it comes to using an axe for a particular job. And we're talking about sectioning or bucking, and I've got a log here. It's a fairly hefty log behind me. It's not a full tree. I haven't been felling any trees recently, but I do have a log stack with some fairly big logs in, and I'm going to use one of those for this demonstration. Okay, now we're going to be thinking about slightly longer axes than maybe our typical most popular bushcraft axe, which is probably the half-length axe. This still applies, but it really comes into its own when we're using a 3/4 axe or maybe a full-size felling axe. And this is about ambidextrous axe usage. Most people are very lopsided with their axe, particularly when it comes to this technique, and I will show you what I mean now. I'm going to do what I do normally first off, and then I'm going to switch to what most people do most of the time and see if you can spot the difference. Okay, now I'm going to switch to what most people do most of the time. I can't do it wrong. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to what I do and which I would encourage you to do, train to do, okay? And then I'll explain it once I've finished. So there, I'm about halfway through that log now. I'll talk about the geometry of what I'm doing on another video at some point, but it's really about what I'm doing with the axe in my hand. I hope you've noticed what I was doing differently in the first sequence compared to the second sequence, and then going back to what I normally do in the third sequence. I've got the full-size felling axe now, and I'm going to roll this log over and attack it from the other side rather than moving the cameras around. Just going to move this around. Obviously, if this was a tree that I just felled, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to step over and work on it from the other side to what I was working originally. But with a log, that's one of the reasons I'm demonstrating this on a log for you. I can just roll it over and I can keep the perspectives the same. Okay, so what most people do is they'll grab the axe as per their dominant hand, which is actually quite interesting, because if you're using an axe one-handed, you'll hold it there, and then when we go to use it two-handed, you tend to guide, not everyone, but most people tend to guide with their non-dominant hand, and they'll throw the axe up or back. If they're felling, they'll come in here. If they're doing something up here, they'll throw it with their dominant hand and guide with their non-dominant hand. And so in the context of what we're doing here, like so. Okay. Then when you're doing something like this, you've got to open up a cut. You've got to open up a cut, a V-notch that's about the same width as the diameter of the log you're chopping. So we're going to have to come in from a different angle, like so. So what most people do is they keep the same grip and they'll come in with the axe like this. But this is, with a heavier axe particularly, it's a little bit awkward on the back. And also you're having to twist and come in and guide across your body with the guide hand, which is not optimal. It's much easier when you're going that way because you're guiding to the same side that hand is on, but when you're coming across the body, it's kind of awkward on your wrist, particularly with a heavy axe, and it's awkward on your back. So why not just swap hands and come in that way? And that might seem difficult, but you're actually guiding now with your dominant hand. You're just holding the other way around. So we're going to there, to there. So this is what I'm saying. Most people, they're just chopping on one side and it's suboptimal. When they switch around to come to this angle here. So ideally what we want to be able to do is come across this way, and then when we want to go the other way, swap. So it's symmetrical. So I'm guiding across the body again this way. My guide hand is now my dominant hand, my right hand in my instance, and I'm throwing with the other hand. When I want to come the other way, guiding with my non-dominant hand, throwing with my dominant hand. And so it's symmetrical. I'm not having to twist my back to do one or the other. I'm not having to guide across my body awkwardly. So let's have a look at that a little bit more closely. So this is my standard way of holding an axe if I was splitting, if I was felling. Yep, and this is what most of us do. If we're using the axe two-handed, we'll guide with our non-dominant hand, we'll hold up here with our dominant hand. And if we want to go to using the axe one-handed, a little bit large with a full-size felling axe, but if we were carving, for example, we'd do that with our dominant hand. And when we come to guide the back, we bring our non-dominant hand into play. So all we need to do is swap that position. So we take our dominant hand to the back towards the swell or the knob, and here close to the head around the throat of the axe we have our other hand. Okay, so we just swapped position one side to the other. Okay, now it'll take a little bit of getting used to. If you've not done this before, it'll feel quite strange, but I'll show you where the transition comes. But you're basically just mirror imaging from one side to the other, and then you're going to chop and guide there as opposed to chopping and guiding there versus there. Now we don't actually swap up here in mid-air. What we do is after the hit, when we want to swap, rather than reaching down and lifting with the same hand as we have been, we're going to bring that hand to the back and we're going to switch here and then slide the other hand to pick the axe up, and then we've swapped sides. Swap, 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 swap. Exactly the same with the 3/4 axe. Here it's not as heavy, so I can actually kind of lift it more just with my with the guiding hand. So in this case, my non-dominant hand, the other side here, so I can chop. So basically, I'm doing this with my guide hand, and then the other hand just helps lift it up, and it just comes to meet the guide hand when I slide down. And this feels a bit weird at first. I would recommend just doing it really lightly and get the motion. And then you can get a bit more force into it. And this log's actually almost all the way through. There we go. If you'd like to read more about that technique, it's in my book, Wilderness Axe Skills and Campcraft. It's on page 117. Starts there. Ambidextrous axe use. And so if you've got that book, you can check it out, pull it off your shelf, just have a look as a reminder, read the text that goes along with it. And if you don't have a copy of that book, you can order a copy via the link below. And of course, it helps to have a nice smooth finish on your axe handle. So if you haven't already got that axe handle refinishing guide, that free PDF download, it's not in the book. That section I wrote for the book, but it never made it into the book. We just ran out of room. I had a page count and a word count total that I couldn't go over, unfortunately, and we had to cut some material out, but I made that available for free. You can download it below, give you some idea of the quality of the book, how it's laid out, the quality of the writing, etc. If you don't already have the book, that's exactly what the book is like. It's just that's not in the book. How to finish your axe handle via the link below. And if you'd like to get the most out of the inverted axe technique, then click on this video and watch it.